Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm your host with the Silent G, and as always, joined by my pal Natalie. Hey, Natalie. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Um, this episode's coming out before St. Patrick's Day. I know it feels very basic. I feel like a lot of horror podcasts around this time of year, their first time around, and we avoided it last time because I was
We
like, you know
did.
what? We're better than that. I forget what we did around this time of year, to be
Me
honest.
too.
But I was like, we're not that basic. We're not gonna
Yep.
we're not gonna jump well, thematically speaking, we're not jumping to that well just yet. Heyo, heyo, heyo. But here we are. We made it to our second St. Patrick's Day. We're like,
hmm
fuck it, let's do Leprechaun.
Let's do
This
it.
movie is so silly and of course,
hmm
perpetuates awful stereotypes. This movie, I don't even know. It's not a classic, is it?
Eh,
For people of a certain age, of a certain type.
I think if you are in our age group, you've definitely seen this movie a lot and probably a lot of the sequels more. But people love this movie enough, but I think it's the character of the leprechaun that they really cling on to.
You've got your tiers of slashers. I think we could safely say A, A tier, Freddy, Jason, Michael. I mean, for us, we're probably
hmm
gonna want to put Chucky up there,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
That's your Mount Rushmore of slashers, right?
hmm
I think if your B tier is where you got like your pinheads and
hmm
such, your leather faces, maybe.
Inconsistent
Um,
franchises, really.
yeah, and and maybe like, well, you put Ghostface. Ghostface, I think doesn't count. Ghostface is a different person each time.
That's true.
But the Leprechaun is like I wouldn't even say F tier. Like this, but even though you have someone that is like played this role with Warwick Davis,
hmm
possible industry legend Warwick Davis, I do.
Definitely industry legend. I love him.
He was in there was that Ricky Gervais show, Life's Too Short. It was like
Mm-hmm.
it was okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, Ricky Gervais I can really only stand like up to a point. So I
hmm
appreciate that the show focused more on someone else, rather
hmm
than the previous two Ricky Gervais series. Um, I don't really remember much of it, but oh my God, if you haven't, go on YouTube and there is a scene. This is back when like Liam Neeson was just known for being super serious, but like Liam Neeson like trying out like improv comedy, and it's really
Oh, I
good.
love
'Cause
it. Yeah. I've
you've
seen
seen
that.
it?
It's
Okay,
really
okay,
good.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Without going out on my tangent. But Leprechaun, I don't know, D tier slasher. There's been four
Yeah.
movies. You got Warwick Davis, who's played him every single time for, well, at least for six movies, one through
Up
four.
until that kind of remake that came out. It's like Leprechaun
Right
Origins. Is that right?
when WWE took over and it was Hornswoggle that played the Leprechaun.
Yeah, and I think we watched that.
There's also um a Leprechaun movie that came out like 6, 7 years ago that it does the same thing that David Gordon Green did to Halloween, where it like ignores all the sequels and it's a direct sequel to the first one.
Oh, I think that's what I was talking about.
There's one with Hornswoggle, and that's one where he doesn't talk, and he's a lot more violent of a little fucker.
hmm
I don't know. It takes place like in a cabin or some shit. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we watched
Never
that.
mind.
We watched that together on a movie night. I remember it being like kind of fine.
This movie is directed and by Mark Jones. Singular Vision. Always love that. Um, he is involved. I think he produces the second Leprechaun movie, but I'm
Mm,
pretty sure from that point on, I don't think he has much involvement. This is not like a Don Mancini, Chucky
no,
situation where like he
no.
really takes full control the whole way through.
hmm
Mark Jones, though, has had a pretty fun career, a lot of it in TV. Um, I was just taking a look real quick. He wrote episodes of cartoons that I'm kind of ashamed to say I watched so much of, but there was one based on Mega Man that was in the mid 90s. And then he also wrote a couple episodes of James Bond Jr. Do you ever watch that?
No, I don't even think I've ever heard of that.
It's so dumb. It's a kid version of James Bond, basically.
Hmm.
Um, Also Cowboys of Moo Mesa, also fucking absolute classic. Another Ninja Turtles ripoff in the 90s. It's pretty
Hmm.
good. And also some Scooby-Doo. So,
Oh yeah.
and Scrappy-Doo to a lesser extent, but so
Lots
good
of
for him.
lots of animation under his belt for sure.
The cast is also kind of, I don't want to say like low-key stacked, but there are some pretty fun 90s staples in this cast. Of course, obviously, right? You've got Mark Holton. I'm just kidding. You got Jennifer Aniston. Um, who I don't remember if I always forget to see whether if she's like super proud of this or tries to forget it, but she's pretty good in this.
It's both. So she tried to forget it for a long time and then eventually like kind of owned it and was like, okay, there is a fan base for this movie because this came out a year before Friends aired.
Wild.
So she was about
She
to like get real famous.
she looks so much younger in this movie than she does in
It's the
Friends.
nose job. She got a
Oh.
nose job in between this movie and starting filming Friends.
Well, if that makes her happy and gives her success and that makes her happy, then okay.
Yeah, because she looks young in this.
Obviously Warwick Davis playing the Leprechaun, of course.
Giving it
Um,
his all too.
yeah. Uh, Ken Olant, who plays Nathan.
Hmm.
And then two other, again, 90s heavy hitters, 80s and 90s heavy hitters. You've got Mark Holton, who
Hmm.
I knew really well from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Hmm.
He's also in a couple other things.
He's in another Leprechaun movie as Ozzy.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about that ignores all the sequels and is a direct sequel from the first one. That's why I don't think that's the one that you and I saw together with Hornswoggle.
It's
I think that's a different one.
it's not. It was Leprechaun Origins is the one that we watched. That's the newer one.
Okay, I'm gonna confuse myself. I'm gonna double check that afterwards. But
We'll figure it out.
um yeah, Mark Horton, he was in Little Giants. He was in A League of Their Own. He was the annoying kid who was
Mm.
all grown up at the end. Oh, says hi to
Mm-hmm.
Gina Davis and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Love that movie. So fucking good.
It is.
Um, let's see. And he was also in Teen Wolf and in Teen Wolf 2.
Hmm.
You also have Robert Gorman, who plays Alex, who's very, very annoying, in this movie,
Very.
but is also a very annoying kid in a lot of stuff. Gosh, he was in Rookie of the Year. He was in a couple episodes of Boy Meets World. Let's see what else he was in.
Oh, you know what he's in where he's actually good is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
And Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan.
Hmm.
So low key, maybe I'm gonna say like honorary little buddy legend, Robert Gorman and Mark Holton.
Little buddy legend, maybe.
Yeah. Um, when is the first time you watched this movie?
I would say I probably saw this movie around the time that it came out because I would have been around 6 and I was already terrified of Chucky, so I was obviously looking for another small villain. Um, this is another one. This leprechaun scared the shit out of me. He scared the shit out of me. I was so afraid. And like, I'm not taking his gold. Why am I worried? I don't even know. But I enjoyed this movie as a kid and I definitely watched I want to say like I ran through all the sequels in my childhood.
No matter how silly these movies get, and unlike Chucky, this was very silly from the get-go, and it knew it
Yeah.
was, whereas like
Hmm.
Chucky, like that first Child's Play, like we were talking about, it it does take itself very seriously, which I think too kind of a scary effect, and it still works.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with this movie, even with all the silliness, um, just the makeup and the fucking
Hmm.
green blood and
I
shit. And
love it.
even like when he's all fucked up crawling out of the well in the end, like
Hmm.
he looks good. And that shit is
Yeah.
scary as fuck.
Yeah.
So
It really
shout
is.
out to the fucking makeup department and the design
Really good.
team because that is like, that's nightmare fuel looking at that fucking
Yeah.
thing.
The practical effects are really good in this. As an adult, it's not scary, whereas I do still think that Chucky can be scary even as an adult for me. But watching this as a kid, yeah, it was terrifying with that melting in the well. I was not okay after watching that.
This must have been a rental for me, because I do remember like the VHS cover. Um, I don't know if this one was on TV as much as some of the others. I remember Leprechaun 3 quite a bit, the one where he's in Vegas. I feel
Yeah.
like that one was on TV
It's
from
such a
time to
great
time.
place for him to be.
100%.
Yeah.
And I kind like, this movie's fine, but I do kind of want to rewatch the others now.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
it's been so long since I've seen two. And when I played
Hmm.
Leprechaun and it ended and it starts playing the trailer for the second one, I'm like, oh man, this is really dumb. But I feel like I gotta watch this because all of his fucking little pervy rhymes are so good.
I love his rhymes.
They're so bad. And that's even before we get to the in the hood too.
Yeah.
Oh man. I don't know if I have it in me to do the rest of these movies, but we'll see. That's why I feel
We'll
like
see
I
how we're
feel comfortable
feeling.
talking openly about the sequels.
We'll
Um,
see how we're feeling come March of 2026.
if there's one that I watched more than any of the others, even combined, it's the fourth one where he goes to space.
Oh, that's the one I've seen the least, I think.
And that was because there was a place where my family used to go camping. Well, not really like camping because it was like a cabin like on the beach, kind of near Pendleton, I think.
Hmm.
Southern California area, everybody. And th- down the street, kind of at the entrance of this complex, had these like cabins and shit. There was this like liquor store where you can get like candy, and then they had like a wall of like VHS tapes.
That
And I
sounds lit.
remember getting really mad because I think my dad or my brother or someone insisted that there was a Ghostbusters 3 at the time in like 1994 or whatever,
Oh.
and and kept trying to find Ghostbusters 3, but it didn't exist, of course. And this is before the internet, right? Really, where
Yeah.
I could look and find that shit out. It turns out we did get a Ghostbusters 3, and it, you
Yeah.
know, I'm not talking about the reboot. I'm talking about the Afterlife one. That was
Yeah.
whatever. But
Yeah.
I digress. But they had Leprechaun 4, and I was like, and as a kid, I don't think I'd even seen, maybe I may have skipped like the third one, but I was
You
familiar
don't
with
need to.
Leprechaun.
Yeah.
And I was like, this sounds good. I can fuck with this for the weekend.
Hmm.
And probably watched it over and then got the original Ghostbusters, of course, because it was there. Um, and probably just watched those a bunch while everybody else was, just enjoying the beach and being outside. I was
That sounds
inside
right.
with my cookies and cream Hershey's bar watching Leprechaun 4.
Oh, those are so gross. The cookies and cream Hershey's bars. Ugh.
So that's my experience.
I love that. Yeah, one of the fun things I think about this franchise though is you can watch any of these movies and just know what's going on. It doesn't really matter. He's a leprechaun, you take his gold, there's consequences. Killer consequences.
Oh, he lays out like a perfect segue to start the movie because he lays it all out in the absolute beginning.
Hmm.
He's walking downstairs in his little castle or something, and he's got his pot of gold. It's the only time you see the gold in an actual pot,
That's true.
which bothered me quite a little bit because it kept
Oh,
being
did
referred
it?
to as a pot of gold. Um,
Hmm.
my little gripe, but he lays it out. I forget what the rhyme is. I didn't write it down, but it's just
Hmm.
like touch my gold, I'll fucking kill you. Fuck around and find out.
That didn't rhyme, but
No, it didn't, but I'm not a seasoned leprechaun. But who did fuck around and would later find out is Dan O'Grady.
Dan O'Grady.
he was they don't show him catching the leprechaun and taking his gold.
Kind of wish they did.
Yeah, I wish it too. But they do show the lavish aftermath, so to speak.
Mhm.
Him rolling up in a limo. He's got a suit, which I appreciate that he refuses to take off. And because he's like, this isn't the nicest thing I own. I'm going to wear this forever. It's like
Yeah.
that episode of The Simpsons where like Marge gets that dress on discount that's like super nice, and she has to keep wearing it over and over and over. And the people start noticing it's a whole thing. Don't worry about it. But he's ready to rub his wife's face in this and say, "Look at me go."
Hmm.
She's like, Dan, what are you doing? We have got a
Yeah.
humble life.
Yeah. He was gonna run through that gold so fast. Like, why do we have to burn through it with limousines? We don't need that. Like they own a home. They're doing great, it seems.
Well, and he didn't even spend any of the actual gold yet. So I assume he's putting this on credit or like dipping into savings, being like, don't worry, the gold's gonna work out.
I I assume that he found a way to sell one gold coin and just like write off that cash first.
Think so, because he's got, I think, because there's an even hundred to be found
Oh shit.
through the
Yeah,
end of
you're
the
right.
movie. So he
Mm-hmm.
didn't spend any of this. So he's already being careless, thinking like, no one's gonna
Mm.
hurt me. Um, so I wasn't sure. I thought it was interesting, um, that he has to like hide the gold inside an urn and smash it and like he's smuggling it in.
Yeah, I also wonder for Dan O'Grady, like we know it's not a good idea to steal gold from a leprechaun.
Clearly.
It's a magical entity. So it like he can teleport. We see it in this movie. Who knows how far he can teleport? But it's just such a bad idea. Did he map this all out? Like, was he on a hunt for a leprechaun?
Maybe because it is shown or revealed later on that Dan O'Grady has been the one feeding Ozzy all these conspiracy theories
Mm-hmm.
and superstitions. Um, and his wife, rightfully so, is very suspicious of this, being like, um, we we are a humble family. We come from humble
Mm-hmm.
means. You whatever money it takes to fly to Ireland to go bury your mother, and you come back in a limousine in a suit. Where's the money, Dan? What's going on? I would be absolutely suspicious. And then, of
Yeah.
course, he's got this bag of gold that he's smuggled.
Hmm.
I like how it's easier to bring those gold coins in to like than like actually smuggling an actual leprechaun through security in that suitcase. Was he in that suitcase on the flight?
Ah. I didn't even think about that, but they probably didn't have those machines that could see through, right?
I
They
guess
only get
not.
checked like random inspection. But also now I'm wondering, did his mom even actually die? Because where are her actual ashes if he brought back an urn full of coins?
I thought they were mixed in because it's all dusty and shit when he breaks it.
Oh shit, did he just let mom fly into the wind?
I think so.
Oh man, Dan is really losing sight of what's important with these gold coins.
Yeah. And I'm like, what if each of those you said what the shopkeeper was like $500 times 100? I don't want to do the math. Is that what?
500,000.
Yeah. 500,000. Yeah,
That's
I mean that's still a lot of money even in 1993, but that's not like
not get
hmm
yourself a limo to drive you home money.
I don't think that's desecrate your mother's remains money, you know? But here we are. And like I said, his wife is absolutely rightfully suspicious, but he's
Yeah.
like, don't worry, we're good. We've got gold. I just need to go bury it somewhere, as you do. Because I don't know what
He
else you do with gold other than bury it.
Dan deserves everything that's coming to him because he had a whole ass plan, captured this leprechaun, ripped him off. Like he he deserves it all. Like he's the exact person that made that leprechaun the way he is and have trust issues. Whereas Alex and Ozzy, like, were more like innocent about it. They didn't know that it belonged to the leprechaun.
Right.
Or maybe they did.
I mean, they knew that it could,
Hmm.
but I get it.
Yeah.
So, of course, Mrs. O'Grady makes the fatal mistake of letting her husband inside the house. Um, she's making tea for him and then starts hearing some whimpering from a child and then a little bit
Love
of
that.
singing coming from his luggage, to which she
Mhm.
was like, "What else did you bring home, Dan? Do you have a little child? Did you smuggle a little Irish child along
He's
with this
lost it.
gold?"
He's lost
Dan's
it.
fucking lost it.
I
Uh,
love when he like does different voices. I
Me
I
too.
do think him singing in that child's voice from the suitcase is probably one of the scarier parts of this movie because a lot of the other like danger is kind of played for laughs, but this is kind of spooky.
Yeah. So she goes and investigates. She starts opening the latches to the suitcase. He bursts out, scares her, knocks her through the open door down to the basement. She tumbles down, breaks her neck. She's dead.
Oh yeah.
I,
Sorry, Mrs.
I thought
O'Grady.
I thought it was also pretty fucked up in the beginning when he's like behind her using her voice, being like, "Oh, just a kick in my neck. Don't even worry
Yeah.
about it," or
I
whatever,
love
whatever.
it. Yeah, his humor is really fun. Like his jokes don't measure up to the quality of the movie, the pacing of the movie, or how interesting, like the lack of interest that this movie has. I think he some of these jokes are really fun and really dark and creepy, and I wish the movie measured up to all of that.
Yeah. Um, Dan comes home, notices something's obviously a foul,
Mhm.
um, gets running with the leprechaun. They chase each other around, goes down to the basement, finds his dead wife. Um, he's like, "I'm not having this, you little fucker." And then doesn't kill him. Well, gets like a shot in on him. So like guns
Hmm.
and stuff, like bullets at least slow him down for a
Yeah, for
little
sure.
bit. Um, Also, I guess I really maybe should have looked at Leprechaun lore, but I'm
I
sorry, I
didn't
didn't.
either. Sorry, everyone.
Do four-leaf clovers like work like a crucifix, like on vampires, like they do on
Hmm.
leprechauns? Because I feel like that's kind of what his situation was.
I mean, that's what's definitely happening here.
He's able to find a four-leaf clover, trap him inside a box, nail it shut, pour some gasoline on it, be like, "I'm gonna burn you fucking alive." Um, then I don't know if the leprechaun caused him to have a stroke right as he was lighting the match. I think he did.
I thought that was just stress. Like he just lost his wife. He's trying to kill him. He's an older man.
It is a stressful situation.
Yeah.
So he has a stroke. He's not dead. Because I was surprised that because if it was the leprechaun that did it, I'm like thinking to myself, and then even as he's like teleporting and shit and throwing his voice this and this and this, he claims that he doesn't have all of his power without all of his
Hmm.
coins, but he's doing some really impressive shit with zero coins. Like I thought it was going to be like a mummy situation where like as he's getting his powers back
Yeah.
throughout the movie and getting his coins, then he becomes more threatening. But
But like he's certainly not weak without them, but with them he's like extra powerful. So there's a big difference there. Um, do you want to know what Leprechaun's weaknesses are
sure,
according to the World Wide Web? I'm not going to give a source here. Just Googling real quick. Um, since leprechauns aren't real. If it was bears, I'd be a lot more cautious of what I was talking about. So apparently, four-leaf clovers are a weakness for them.
okay,
They also can be curious and tempted by riches and treats, so you can try to bribe them. Iron is also a countermeasure for them.
okay.
Wearing the color green can make you invisible to leprechauns. Is that why we're all running around in green on St. Patrick's Day? Are we hiding from leprechauns?
Huh? Or is just the clothes invisible? Or no, it makes all of us invisible if we're wearing a little bit green.
I
So
don't
like if I'm
know.
wearing a green shirt and green pants, they won't just see like a pair of undies running around.
Or just your head.
Or just my head
Like your
and a pair
head
of
in your
undies.
hands. Yeah, that.
Yeah. Like I'm the fucking dude from the end of Star Fox. Just my hands floating around.
I don't know if this would actually stop a leprechaun, but it says catch him by surprise and never take your eyes off of him, as they're known to disappear if you look away. But I don't I don't know that I would want to catch it and keep it like Dan O'Grady. So
Didn't work out for him.
there's some hot tips if you do encounter a leprechaun.
Appreciate that. I'll log that. So yeah, dang, 10 years later, we got a time jump. Dana Grady is now in a hospital,
Hmm.
like a live-in hospital, treated for his you know, affliction or whatever you call it. Treated for his affliction.
Hmm.
And that leprechaun's just been sitting inside that box for however long.
Yeah, just powered down kind of.
And then this is when we're introduced to Jennifer Aniston, who is Tori. And then also the dad, cannot remember his name, but he kind of vanishes halfway through.
Yeah, because he disappears right at the beginning of the movie. Do we even know where he goes? Was I just not paying attention?
He's just at the hospital being treated for his hand, and that's it.
For the whole movie?
Yep.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, when they go to the hospital, they drop him off, and then that's it. If I remember right. I don't
Yeah, you
know.
never see him again.
Mm-mm. So, dad is um he's a humble guy. But maybe not with that bright shirt, but he buys the O'Grady property for some reason or another. This is in North Dakota, and he's getting the house fixed up and then brings his daughter Tori, who is a very, classic late 80s, early 90s, Beverly Hills, like I'm just
Uh-huh.
here to shop and to have my cell phone and be at the mall, and I
Yeah.
don't do cobwebs, and there's a lot of cobwebs.
They really play up the spoiled Southern California girl with her. Like they like laying it on thick. Like they just keep one thing after another after another. We're like, we fucking get it. She's from LA. Say no more.
They do it first, and then like I don't know, I feel
It
like
disappears.
well, as soon as and I appreciate this a little bit, but like as soon as like her ego is challenged a little bit from Nathan, like I don't think it was as much Nathan, by the way, is also one of the three people who just roam around town and paint. He's got a
Hmm.
very Kevin Bacon Tremors vibe to him with the hair and the vest.
Yes, the sleeveless like shirt. Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. When you like I felt like he looked familiar and I was like, am I just remembering him from this movie? But it's the Kevin Bacon connection. Also though, he can get it. That man has no business wearing shirts with sleeves ever. So, proud of him.
Yeah, definitely a Kevin Bacon vibe, like I said, yeah, with the hair, with the vest,
Yeah,
does
he's a
odd
cutie.
jobs. I think is homeless
Yeah,
because
possibly.
they're like, hey, I guess we're gonna stay here at this house tonight.
I
And this is even before
know.
the leprechaun stuff.
I've never had a
So,
painter stay the night.
but when she's challenged even a little bit by him,
Hmm.
she's like, well, she's of course sees the house and she's like, I want nothing to fucking do with this. Sorry, Dad. He's
Me
like,
too.
Dad's like, is money really the most important thing? And she's like, yeah, it is. I'm gonna get
Yeah,
a hotel room. Goodbye.
100%. I'm fully aligned with her.
But when she's on her way out, the guy's like, or sorry, Nathan's like, oh, what? You scared of a house? What? Because you're a girl? And she's like, I'm not scared because I'm a girl. I'm scared of that house because I'm rich. Please.
Yeah.
And but then he's like, huh, well, what? As soon as he tries to make it a gender thing, she's like, fuck you. I
Hmm.
thought at first she was going to stay just because he's clearly very attractive, but
Yeah.
I think that's only like maybe 15-20% of it. I think the rest of it is he challenged her and she's like, no, fuck you. I'm going to stay in this goddamn house. Watch
Yeah,
me.
because they go back and forth between flirting and him just being actually kind of an asshole to her. So
A little bit.
yeah, so I like, and I mean, like sometimes being an asshole can be kind of a cute flirt, but I don't know. they just kind of like go back and forth. So I think for the most part, like he makes a comment about her being scared of spiders or something, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm fucking staying." Like, and all of a sudden now she's part of the handyman crew, uh, just based off of this challenge.
Yeah, that kid very explicitly laid out to the dad, like, no, you can't carry anything because of liability issues, but now you're going to let her paint, be part of the
Yeah,
crew?
yeah.
She's got to fill out her W-4s. Come on. So we're also introduced to the rest of this three-person cleaning crew.
Three
I'm
guys
kidding.
that
They
paint,
don't.
is that what they call
Yeah,
themselves?
I think so.
Yeah.
And of course, no, they don't have W-4s. They've got children working for them because we've got Alex, who is the little brother of Nathan.
How old do we think he is?
Hmm,
13?
10.
10?
Okay. Yeah, I see 10.
I'm gonna say 11.
11.
I'm gonna say
Sure. Guess
11.
split the difference.
Yeah.
And then you've got Ozzy, who's also like, um, I don't,
Ozzy.
yeah, I don't, he's got, this very just broad, I've got some cognitive delay and
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a Flowers for Algernon type of just,
That's such a good example.
and
I hope
Ozzy is
everyone's read Flowers for Algernon.
Ozzy is also very superstitious because he's always like, hey,
Mm,
don't, step on cracks or walk under ladders. He wasn't talking about that, but I think he was talking about like UFOs and Bigfoots and
mm-hmm.
such.
Mm-hmm.
Big feet. Sorry, I don't know what the plural is there, but and Alex is, I would say, I don't want to say outright abusive, but close.
Oh, he kind of is. I don't think he means to be. Like, he's a dumb kid and he genuinely cares about Ozzy, but there's a clear, almost feels like emotional abuse to Ozzy from Alex.
And
Is
physical. He hits him a couple times.
is
It's, you know what? I take that back. It's abuse.
Yeah. Is Ozzy related to Nathan and Alex at all, we think? No.
Yeah, I don't know if they just how Ozzy came into their lives.
Well,
Maybe.
what's sad is like he's kind of the like I'm sure the person writing this was like, "Oh, you're gonna play the role of like the village idiot." Like that's what it feels like they're putting him into that box without really defining who he is.
So I don't know. I don't know what Ozzy's situation is. Maybe
Hmm.
that other sequel with him in it will explain more. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
that'd be great. Maybe he gets the
There
operation after all.
you go. Oh my God. Um, so they're painting the house and Ozzy blew himself.
Did you have that one prepared?
I did. Gets
Does he
himself just
say
covered in
that?
blue paint. No, he doesn't.
I
No,
wish
no,
he
no.
did. That would be great.
I stole that joke from Arrested Development. That was my
Oh,
reference.
you're right. Yep, yep, you're right.
So but then you can tell this probably happens a lot because even before, like when you first introduced to Ozzy, his overalls were covered in blue paint. So this clearly happens to him pretty regularly. So I don't
That's
know why he's getting
true.
so upset, or Alex is continuing to maybe do this to him.
Did you pay attention to the color scheme that they were painting this house? I mean, that blue is fucking awful for a house, but did you pay attention to what they were doing?
No, it was like blue with like the red doors. I don't know.
Blue and red? Who's painting their house these colors? That dad?
Well,
That that seemed like this like cutesy, like, oh, I'm gonna buy a little house in North Dakota, live a humble life. And he's painting it blue and red. Hideous. Absolutely hideous. Jennifer Aniston, I'm sorry, Tori would not allow those colors to be painted on that house.
you know what? Yeah, you're probably right.
Thanks.
I don't know if they've got like an HOA though, so I don't think anyone's gonna like
They
interfere
don't.
with that. Yeah. So, um, like I was saying, Ozzy blew himself, and Tori's like, "Go inside, wash yourself. You look like a fool. Come on." He goes inside, um, gets all the paint off his face, And that's again, just like the fucking lady from the beginning, starts hearing voices, a child's
Mm-hmm.
voices coming from the basement. So he goes and
Mm-hmm.
investigates, of course. Now, man, as he's looking through, hearing these voices, he hears it coming from that crate. So Leprechaun's been in there the whole time. He's just been sitting there, just letting cobwebs just grow on him. I think he can move around in that little box, unless he
I
just
mean,
like
can
slept
he?
for
Like,
10 years.
is he just weakened by the the clover being there
That
over
could be it.
time?
No, see, look at me. Here I am. Never
Yeah.
mind. Poking holes, but that shit's ironclad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe not iron. We don't want to offend the leprechaun. But as Ozzy is putting his head down, he knocks over the four-leaf clover that's all rotted
Mm-hmm.
and shit. I'm surprised that hasn't just like dissolved by then at that point.
I know.
But that gets knocked over, and then that gives Leprechaun the ability to burst right the fuck out and announce
Mm-hmm.
himself. I like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chucky did not wait that long to reveal himself to people.
Mm-hmm.
Leprechaun absolutely fucking does not care. I mean, like he'll hide
Oh
around
no.
for the sake of like hunting his prey, but he has no problem letting you know that he's a leprechaun, even with the kid voices and
Oh,
luring people in.
he's flaunting it. Like he loves to talk about being a leprechaun. He brings it up
Yeah.
probably every other scene. I will say this though, and I think we can both agree on this. If you hear a child's voice coming from a basement that is not supposed to have a child in it, or a suitcase, or anything of that nature, probably don't check it out. Call the
Earn it.
authorities. Yeah, yeah. What if it actually is a child? People do fucked up stuff in real life.
Well, I'll think about
Better
that
safe than
later.
sorry.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, so just don't check that out. Maybe don't burn it as per Kyle's advice, but don't go to basements following children's voices.
Ozzy is able to escape upstairs and
Hmm.
let everyone know, hey, everyone, there's a goddamn leprechaun downstairs in the basement. Of course, no one believes him because there's
Hmm.
no such thing as leprechauns. And then also Ozzy, kind of boy that cried wolf situation, like, or
Yeah.
boy that cried Bigfoot or UFO, rather,
Hmm.
which we find out fucks them later on.
Yeah.
Uh, they don't believe him, but they do go
They do
down
still
the
check it
check,
out.
which I appreciate that. They're like, hey, and I do appreciate that they're like, hey, Ozzy, you say a lot of stuff and I get it, but we love you. So we're gonna at least know that even if we don't believe you, we want to ease your nerves. So we're gonna go downstairs and check.
Hmm.
They find out it's just a rat. Well,
They
they think
think
it's
it's
just a
just a
rat.
rat.
Right. They go back upstairs, and then there's a rainbow, which I'm
Ooh.
like, who put up that rainbow? It wasn't raining, so you think the leprechaun would be in some way involved in this? Why doesn't he follow his own goddamn rainbow to get his own
Yeah.
goddamn gold back?
Well,
It's like he
also,
wanted them to steal it, you know?
does he have control of the rainbow?
Certainly it's got to be something other than the weather because it was a super clear day out.
Well, obviously, but what I'm saying is, I mean, he's a leprechaun and he has things that are, that compel him that are outside of his control, like, for instance, the shoes and polishing the shoes. So maybe when he's close to his gold, a rainbow appears, you know?
We really didn't do enough research on this,
We
nor
certainly didn't, but
nor do I regret it,
I don't
but
either. It's more fun to just speculate wildly than actually know the answers. But does okay, this rainbow situation. After someone told you that they saw a leprechaun
yeah.
and they were threatened by this leprechaun, let's not forget, this leprechaun said he would bite his ear off. He said
And
that.
he follows through. I appreciate that.
He sure does. But I would be a little bit suspicious if you told me there was a leprechaun and the most clear, beautiful rainbow suddenly appears when there's no rain. I might be thinking, okay, maybe there's a leprechaun. Let's not follow this rainbow. That was a big risk by Ozzy, for sure.
And even if leprechauns existed, I mean, I don't think they were known to be as villainous as this little dude is.
Oh, he
I
means
don't know.
business. Yeah, you don't
100%.
fuck with his coins. Like he goes just off off the wall, just
We
wild.
never meet another leprechaun, do we, in this series?
No, but that would be really fun.
Yeah, why aren't we getting like a Shrek situation where you got like a whole family of them, like
Ooh.
w- with a donkey that he gets to be friends with?
Like a little, are there lady leprechauns? No, there's only male leprechauns.
Is that true?
I think so.
Okay.
That's another question I don't know the answer to. Whatever happened to the research team?
I'll be honest with you, it's been like 50 episodes since I've thought about them, so
I
I do not
know.
know. Oh my God, we left him in that crate in the basement. So they see this rainbow, and Ozzy is just so compelled. He's like, and Ozzy specifically forgets all of the evil leprechaun shit that happened just minutes prior and goes,
Yeah,
let's go chase after this rainbow on our
hell
fucking
no.
own. Hell no.
That little, you know what that little motherfucker looks like. I'm not going after
Yeah.
anything that belongs to him.
No. And let him follow his own goddamn rainbow. Alex is like, well, I'm gonna follow him just so he doesn't get hurt. So I'm gonna go and babysit this adult. And Nathan and Tori are like, we're gonna hang back. So they follow this rainbow to this, you know, totally unusable, rusted to shit truck that's out there in
Hmm.
the middle of the woods. And then this is where they find the gold in a little
Hmm.
baggie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is that
which
where
is, but
Dan
it's,
O'Grady hit it?
well, it's weird because Ozzy only finds a single coin, manages to eat it immediately. Oh my God. I would, we'll get there, but, and then the bag of gold, pouch of gold, whatever, like manifests itself behind the seat of the car. So
Hmm.
did he bury it? Did he hide it? Did the leprechaun move it? I don't
Does
understand.
it move on its own?
Well, it just kind of manifests and like teleports in on its own, using like the same effects that he uses when he just shows up in places.
Yeah,
It's very strange, but I don't need to poke holes
we
in
don't
that.
care.
Yeah, I really don't care. They're like, hey, this gold could be worth a lot. They agree. Let's not tell anybody about this. Bad idea.
Bad idea.
But you keep a little bit. I'm gonna keep some. Maybe we should take this into town and see if this is worth
Hmm.
anything. We'll
Hmm.
look into it. And like I said, Ozzy's like, well, I know one way we can bite it, which I remember seeing that, like, what's that cartoon?
You'll need to be more specific.
His it's he like bites the nickel. He's like, I think he's a dog and he's a superhero.
None of this is ringing a bell.
I don't worry about me.
But would that tell you if it was gold or would it tell you if it's just metal?
I have no idea. And I don't think Ozzy thought that far in advance because he doesn't know what to check for when he bites it, but then
Yeah.
immediately swallows it. Whoops.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is if gold is a pure enough gold, it's soft. So if you bit into it, maybe it would make an imprint in it. Whereas if it was like copper or nickel, it would not.
So the leprechaun's made his way out of the house and is now just kind of, well, one, not following that rainbow, but just kind of lurking around the property, hanging outside under the truck, getting grabby with Jennifer
Mm,
Aniston's legs,
yeah.
scratches her quite a bit.
Yeah,
Um,
being a creep.
yeah, I like how at first she thought it was Nathan, and
She's
well,
kind of
one,
into it.
she's kind of into it. I was like, that's weird. That's a weird
He
move for
has
Nathan
long,
to,
sharp nails.
yeah, to go hang out under a truck with his sharp little goblin hands. But I did think it was funny later when she's like, what? I thought it was Nathan trying to rub my leg. And then he was like, you would have been cool with that?
Yeah. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, you were into it?" Yeah.
And the dad's like, no.
Yeah. Dad's like, she's like, "I know what it feels like to have a man rub on my legs." And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, let's pour a cold bucket of water from the well on this one. Um, but So Leprechaun's lurking around doing that kind of shit. Her leg gets scratched up. They think it's a cat because
Yeah,
it's the Leprechaun making cat noises from like the inside of like a hollowed out log.
so fun.
And
I love that he can do stuff like that, and I love that shot of his face just licking the blood off of his mouth. Ugh.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
ugh.
gross.
The dad, like an idiot, reaches into this log because what did he think was going to happen even if it was a cat? Like reaching
Nothing
his
good.
arm all the way in there trying to grab that cat. It was going to attack him and try and
Hmm.
bite him. But he gets a leprechaun bite, which looks real nasty on his hand or his arm. I can't remember. It's his hand. Pulls
Yeah.
it out, and they're like, fuck, we need to take you to the hospital. So they roll back into town, and of course, Alex and Ozzy see this as an opportunity to be like, hey, well, why don't you all go do that? We're just gonna go explore and do our thing. Don't worry about us.
Hmm.
But they're going to this antique and collectible shop, you know, like a minute after it closes, but the dude lets him inside because he's waving around a gold coin.
Hmm.
And this is when we meet our shopkeeper. I appreciate this character because it doesn't really add anything to the story, but it does give you another death and a pretty fun one too.
Yeah, it gives you a death. And I mean, I feel bad for the shopkeeper because he wasn't even like trying to rob them or anything. Like he legit said, "Oh, I'm going to put it in my safe and like evaluate it, in the morning." And he immediately goes to put it in the safe. And then this leprechaun shows up just fucking pogoing around.
And he gives the coin back to the leprechaun. He's like, yeah, dude, you can have it.
Yeah. I just like somebody just gave this to me. I wasn't trying to steal from you, man.
Yeah. But
I'll
clearly
go
the
help you kill
leprechaun,
them.
yeah, I know. I like that team up. The leprechaun's like, nah, I'm not having it. But you do have that pogo stick scene, which is pretty fun. Pogo sticks were kind of all the rage at the time.
So here's the thing. How the fuck did he get in that safe? Because he's supposed to not have his full powers. Later on in the movie, he just shows up in a refrigerator, but that makes more sense because he had 99 out of 100 coins.
That's what I was saying. He's got like for having zero coins, he's got like full powers from the get-go.
Yeah.
He can do a
No, I
lot of
think
shit.
he's doing great. So, yeah, the only thing I don't like about the pogo stick death is why is that pogo stick so sharp? It's like stabbing him.
Hmm. I
Doesn't
don't know.
doesn't super duper make sense to me, but it's silly and fun.
I would have been fine if it was a normal ass pogo stick and just caused a lot of like internal bleeding and damage,
Ooh, and
just
some
from pogoing on him.
crunching, like
And
you hear
then
some, yeah.
and then the last one goes like right into his mouth and through the back of his head or something.
Ooh, that's good. That's creative. I like
Hmm.
that. Yeah.
He does find this little convertible. It's fun
Yeah.
watching him drive around in that.
Yeah. Looking all cute.
He's got a bunch of fun little vehicles because of course you've got the little tricycle that he rides around,
Oh yeah, that's his
which
first. That's his first one, and then he upgrades real quick.
just always very fun. It reminded me of Saw when the night with the shopkeeper and the little tricycle just
Yeah.
rolls towards him. Of course, you don't have little what the fuck is that puppet's name?
Billy.
Bandit? Oh,
Billy.
but yeah, whatever.
Bandit. If we ever cover Saw, that's what we're calling him.
But so it just reminded me of that. But he gets definitely a clear upgrade to this little convertible that he's able to just
Hmm.
like speed down the highway.
Yeah, normal like car speed.
Have you ever driven around one of those, like those toy kids, like cars? Like those are pretty cool. Like the
Hell
one
yeah.
kid, I never owned one, but I lived next door to a kid that had one and it was awesome. I remember us just rolling around in his Jeep. We had Mario and Luigi hats. So we were just rolling it around, just being Mario and Luigi
That's so
as like
fun.
6-year-olds and our little 5-year-olds and our little thing. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I had a few of those. I was very spoiled as a child, and I had a few Barbie Jeeps, and I'll tell you, cousin Vinny and
Nice.
I would roll around in those all the time. I like there was nothing that made you feel cooler as a kid than having one of those little cars to drive around, and they were so slow, but so fun.
This is the last we ever see of the dad. They take him to the hospital, drop him off, and that's
Yeah,
it.
he's out of the movie.
They connect back at the diner, the other four. for a little bit, but at this point, the leprechaun is already on his way. Like I said, he's speeding in that little convertible and that gets the
Mhm.
attention of a police officer that goes and pulls him over.
I love it.
Um, this whole thing is like fine. I really think you could have cut this whole sequence in half with the cop
It's
and running through the
so
woods.
long.
It's so long. And I get it that like you want people to remember the cop because he shows up later,
Yeah.
but I really don't think he needed to do all of this running through the woods and then him just sitting down being like, "Oh, all right, he's gone, so I guess I'm good. Thank God, thank God, thank God."
For like a minute.
And then all of that, I would have preferred a gorier kill if we were gonna like watch this for so long. But you got a pretty, I'm sorry, unimpressive neck break.
Yeah, he just kind of breaks his neck. I think the interesting thing about this cop is so he pulls over the leprechaun and he immediately thinks he's a kid, like driving around in his little car.
Yeah,
But even though he thinks he's a kid, he still calls him a smartass, like and is like real sassy to him. And I'm like, okay, calm down if you think this is a child that's just like out in the middle of the night driving in the road. Um, but why does he even bother chasing this cop? This cop doesn't have his gold. Like, why is he wasting his time on this?
fuck the cops.
I guess so. Yeah, he must be anti-authority. It's just so funny. And also I'm assuming it wasn't intended to be scary because the way that he like pops out from in between the trees and is like laughing and just being real goofy is one dragged out way too long.
Yeah.
But it's very, very silly.
So after that little detour, he makes it back to the house and just starts just like ransacking the place.
Um,
Finds a box of Lucky Charms, isn't
of
having it.
course.
Of course he does. Oh
I
my
mean, they
gosh.
are gross.
They, it's, yeah, yes, yes,
They're
first and
gross.
foremost,
Yeah.
yes. But they're kind of good sprinkled on vanilla ice cream. I know it sounds bad, but you might
It
need you
is.
you kind of have to be high first though. That's kind of also the extra ingredient.
I mean, you could
Um,
do so many other cereals that would be so much better.
yeah, I could think so. What we'll have to rank those later, but something about those like styrofoam marshmallows. They're so good.
I'll admit, I'll admit, the marshmallows just as like no milk, just like I like that they kind of like stick to your tongue and I'll just kind of let it dissolve in my mouth. I don't like to chew them because they're like those freeze-dried marshmallows. But it's
Right.
the actual
Astronaut
cereal.
marshmallows.
Yeah, it's the actual cereal itself in Lucky Charms that's just like a plain ass cereal, and then it's got these sweet marshmallows. Not a fan. And this is our second conversation about cereal in a row.
The marshmallows are so good that they make you really fucking hate the rest of the cereal.
Yeah. I think that's why I'm just like it's not worth it for Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
I don't need any of that. So I agree with him. I like that he also cleans up all the shoes.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that he is very OCD about dirty shoes. So if he sees any dirty shoes, he's like, I need to stop everything I'm doing,
Yeah.
which makes kind of a fun thing later. Um,
hmm
and I was like, I'm gonna clean up and organize all these shoes. So like an insane person, they come home, the place is just destroyed, but then you just have rows of like organized clean shoes
Yeah.
just right there on the table.
And they're like it was a bear.
Yeah. There's like, this must be a bear. And it's like, well, it's a very, yeah, I don't know, very kind bear to stop and do this, you know?
Yeah.
But so they find that and they're just like, hey, it's been a long night. Let's find out some rooms where we can sleep. Tori's like, I did not say you all could sleep here.
I
Do you all have a
know.
home?
Yeah, my dad is not here. Apparently he's spending the night in the hospital for his fucking hand.
Ozzy's still just like, it's a goddamn leprechaun, I'm telling you. And then even especially so, oh my gosh, to like know it's a leprechaun, no one will believe you. And then you also withhold that information about the gold that is in your stomach
Yeah.
right now. Oh my
Yeah,
God, y'all are so fucking,
lots
it's
of
too
problems
much.
here.
They start hearing noises from outside, so Nathan grabs a shotgun and investigates. He doesn't make it too far, and this is going to fuck Nathan up for slow Nathan down quite a bit for the rest of the movie because
Hmm.
he does step right into a fucking bear trap, which sounds, oh Jesus, so awful.
Ah, I don't
Ugh.
I don't like seeing bear traps get people's legs. It happens a lot in horror, and every time, no matter how silly the movie is, no matter what's happening, it is so painful to even think about.
Ugh. So, and again, Leprechaun just not giving a fuck that everyone knows he's a leprechaun, just runs up and just starts taunting him, patting him on the head, just being, ha ha, fucker.
Yeah, he's like, how's
Here's
that fucking feel?
how's that fucking feel? But um looks like you can barely move. I don't know. It's the best I could come up with. Sorry.
He's not doing puns, he's doing rhymes.
Yeah, oh well, that's true. Well, yeah, okay. It'd be nice if he mixed in a few, but
I
that's
would love
okay.
that. I think he does later in the franchise.
Leprechaun is laughing and hopping on him and biting him and shit. Of
Oh.
course, the others run out and try to help him. They're trying to like hit him with shit, bonk him on the head. They're like, Ozzy, go call 911.
Oh no.
Don't send Ozzy because you send a kid because you want your taller, stronger people fighting off the leprechaun. And
Hmm.
anyone with a working knowledge of the English language and a voice and some hands can go call the police. Send the
Hmm.
kid to go call the police and also be safer inside. Maybe it's easy for me to say, 32 years later, I suppose, but maybe if you're in the thick of it at that moment, you don't think that way. Maybe you're just like, we just don't need Ozzy here. Ozzy, go away. Go try to
Yeah,
be
I
useful
mean
somewhere
that could be
else.
true, yeah.
But Ozzy does call the police. Of course, this is when you get the police on the other line, and the sheriff
Hmm.
who pops up a couple times in this movie. And he's like, yeah, there's a leprechaun. Come, send everybody. And then the police are
Yeah.
like, oh, what's it this week, Ozzy?
Do
Don't send
do you
Ozzy.
wonder though, like obviously he calls the cops all the time, but do you wonder if he would have said anything else, maybe just my friend's leg got caught in a bear trap, send help. I wonder if they wouldn't have believed him no matter what he said. Clearly, he goes the leprechaun route, which was a poor choice. But do you think they would have even believed him if he said that because of how many like false calls he's made?
It's the 90s. We were so trained by stranger danger. You yell fire. That's how you do it. No matter what, you just yell fire.
Really? Is that the rule?
I thought so. I don't
Oh.
know.
I thought you yell stranger danger.
No, I think if for child predators, it's you yell fire because everyone will respond to that. I don't know.
I mean,
Maybe
if a child was standing next to an adult and they were yelling stranger danger, I would definitely react.
I would because I'd be like, how do you kids know that?
Fire, I'd be like, where?
Well, but it gets everyone's attention, and then you'll be like, no, not a fire. Someone, I
See,
don't
we
know. Look,
eventually have to circle back to stranger danger. Feeling
whatever.
pretty confident on that one.
I don't like relying on things that rhymes because it makes me no different than the leprechaun, to be honest. So Alex is being more useful than Ozzy. Goes and grabs the shotgun, brings it over, tosses it to Nathan, and says, "Have at
Mhm.
it, my guy." Nathan swears he put 6 rounds into that little fucker, but he put like one good round in him and then five into
Yeah,
an empty bush.
absolutely he did. I know he got him the first time because you do see that first introduction of his green blood, which is really fun.
Yeah.
Love the green blood.
So they go back inside. Now the phone is dead. So I don't know if during this moment he like cut the phone lines or if he's using magic to like not let the phone get out. I don't
Could be
know.
both.
I think it's magic,
Yeah.
probably. Again, with zero powers, because he has zero
Hmm.
coins, or at least his zero coin power is still really, really good and
Yeah.
very, yeah, very threatening, very effective.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
He also, this going back a little bit, this is the first time you see his stunt double, who is like double the size, pun intended. I get, that works. Uh, he's the stunt double is like double the size of Warwick Davis. It's very silly. So when he's fighting Nathan on the ground, he looks like at least, I mean, he's probably not even close to being like 6 feet tall, but in my brain, like that's what I translated it as when really he's probably like only a foot taller. But he looks ginormous compared to the actual actor in the Leprechaun.
Like, I get why Chucky's stunt double is taller because,
Yeah.
Chucky's like only like what, 3 feet tall. He's a doll,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So there's going to be that obvious size difference. But I am hard pressed to believe that there was no working or available person with that same height
Yes.
in the stunt industry,
Yes, that's what I was
right?
thinking. Like there had to be someone that had it didn't even have to be like body type, just height even.
Right.
That would have filled that because it look that takes me out of it. Like the movie can be silly, but yeah, I don't like a stunt double that really stands out.
So, like I said, they make their way back into the house. They're wrapping Nathan up on the table, like he's Jeff Goldblum. I guess came out the same year. And they're like, we need to get the fuck out of here. Let's go to the truck. I don't know why they aren't going to the Jeep immediately because there's a second
Yeah.
car that works much better. Remember, before they're on the way to the hospital, it's demonstrated that that truck's engine doesn't really always work.
Yeah. So we know that.
The kid has to go out, use his little nibble digits to shake things free and get it going. So, of course, this time around, he's got to do the same thing. But of
Hmm.
course, guess who's hiding that goddamn engine? Is that goddamn
Shocker.
leprechaun, Natalie? So he's jumping out. He smashes through the windshield when they're all back inside the
Oh,
truck. This is when he finally follows through and bites off Ozzy's ear. He's like, I
yeah, he
told you I was
does.
coming. I
I
told you.
I don't like that at all.
Chop, chop, chop. I'm coming. I'm gonna
Mm-mm.
turn that into a
Mm.
little boot. So, um, I also don't know how this works with the engine off, but Jennifer Aniston's able to use the cigarette lighter in the truck
Oh yeah,
to
wouldn't that need to be
burn his face.
on?
I thought so. I'm gonna
Or
say
does it
yes,
run
I
off
think
of the
so.
car battery, like the little overhead lights?
Either way, the car needs to be on.
I think you're right. It's been a long time since I've been in a car with a cigarette lighter, but I do think it needs to be on because you had to like press it in for it to heat up,
Yeah.
right?
I used to do that a lot back when I like smoked cigarettes and I had a car that had that. I'd light my
The
cigarettes that way a
Jeep.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, that 95 Jeep Cherokee thing's
Uh-huh.
fucking awesome.
I remember that thing.
Drove that into the ground. Um, so after the scuffle in the truck, his little nose burnt a little bit by that cigarette lighter. He runs into the barn and then
Another upgrade.
did he upgrade the convertible? Like, is that the same car? He just
Oh, he must have upgraded the convertible. That's what he was working on.
I guess so. That's the only thing I can figure, or if that existed the whole time. But he has
No,
this like, this
he built it.
armored black pitchfork, fucking like he was like fucking out of Mad Max, this car,
Yes, yes. Yeah, you could tell he put a lot of love into it. Yeah.
right? He's driving this little interceptor that also has the power to like flip this truck multiple times over.
Yeah. A
Um,
giant truck.
doesn't do much because they're all able to get out of the truck. Like it's,
Hmm.
the truck's out of commission now officially, and they make their way back inside the house. Um, Also kind of a fun, silly element where they slam the door on his hand and his hand comes off.
Yes, and that hand looks giant that he's
I did
holding.
not, I did not check to see if that's the same hand that played Thing, because there's a
No,
lot of famous severed hands.
it is a prop hand. It's huge.
We gave that guy an industry legend award. I
We
forget
did.
his name.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
I
because he's in
know.
idle
Me
hands.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right. He is the idle hand.
Yes, we haven't made it to the Addams family yet.
So Tori also, they don't think of the Jeep. And then also Tori's like, I've had a cell phone this whole time. I could have used.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We've got a cell phone, we've got a working car.
And I'm gonna wait though until the battery is nearly dead so I can only get half of a conversation out, which I mean, I guess she's able to get that out.
Yeah.
But I don't think it even matters because at that point, it's so dumb because this is before she makes that call on her cell phone before she takes the Jeep and goes out to
Mm-hmm.
the place to go
The
find
nursing home.
O'Grady. But yeah, but I'll get there in a second because again, that
Yeah.
doesn't make
Mm-hmm.
quite sense to me. Um, oh no, this is what happens. I'm sorry. So she calls with her cell phone. Half the call gets out. This is pretty fun, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff is like, okay, now this is the second person calling from the O'Grady place.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hey, officer, can you go check this out? And he calls the officer who's fucking dead. And
Love it.
Leprechaun, like an asshole, is using his voice. That is pretty fun. I
That
like
was
that.
fun. Yeah,
If,
because he
yeah,
did a good job. Yeah, like he says all
yeah,
the right things. He was even like, yeah, like I'm like 13 minutes out. I'll be there.
yeah. Yeah, you don't want to say you're too close, you don't want to make it
Yeah.
seem,
Or like,
he
oh, I
thought
already
this through.
checked on it. Yeah.
So back inside, Ozzy's like, okay, this has gotten pretty bad. We should probably say something about the gold, right? And of course, everyone's like, what? What about the fucking what gold, dude?
Yeah, but also put two and two together because we know there's a leprechaun now. We saw a fucking rainbow. Ozzy and Alex said they were gonna go follow it, and the leprechaun brought up his gold at least once, if not twice by this point. So I'd be thinking to myself, he's coming after us and he's asking for gold. Does he want our gold or is he looking for his gold? Like at that point, I'd be like, we need to be diplomatic with this leprechaun and figure out what he wants.
I was just thinking about those like 1-800 like, gold for cash commercials,
Yeah.
that were on a bunch. Just
Uh-huh.
thinking like, man, there's probably just leprechauns buying that whole thing, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tori's like, then let's give him the fucking gold then. If
Yeah.
y'all have it. So where is it? And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the well. So she goes out. She's like, I'm gonna take matters in my own hands. Give me this goddamn
Mhm.
shotgun. This is when you get your little bit, your final girl of Tori, even though like we still got quite a bit of this movie to go.
Mhm.
She goes, gets the gold. He shows up conveniently. I don't know why he just didn't. I don't know. And for
Why
all of
he
his
didn't check the
powers,
well?
he does not have any idea, like just easy places to check for this gold. And it's not like I don't know. I don't know. Don't even worry about it. But
Yeah, it's surprising that he doesn't have some sort of like tracking sense for it because of the magical connection between him and the gold.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, here, fucking have it. And so he's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Oh, cool. Hey,
Yeah.
we're good. Smells
Kisses her
like
on the
it.
cheek. Yeah.
Tastes like it. Well, thank you very much. Hey,
Yeah.
we're good.
He leaves.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's just like, yeah, okay, like when he doesn't have his gold, he's an absolute fucking asshole.
Hmm.
Absolutely. You give him his gold, he's fine. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, and I get it, you don't want to negotiate with terrorists. I get it. And you don't want to just spoil a child, sure. But it was his gold and you are denying
Yeah.
him of it. So just give him his fucking gold. It's the easiest
I
answer.
I can completely relate. If you don't give me a snack, I start doing all the things that the leprechaun is doing. I'm rhyming. I'm trying to stab people with pogo sticks. So I completely understand. He's so happy after he has his gold. He's sitting there counting it out. Although he does check those receipts. He's like, I'm gonna count each and every one of these coins before I get any further than this police car.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because he's like, I am not
Yeah,
leaving here until I absolutely make sure. I appreciate that
yeah,
he is thorough.
me
So,
too.
but like you said, he's stoked, obviously.
Yeah, he's so
Um,
happy.
Tori runs back to the house and she's like, "Hey, it's over." It's not over though,
No.
because the leprechaun's counting. He needs 100 coins, and he only
Yeah.
gets to 99.
Would you really be able to sleep too if you knew that he was still alive out there and you had taken his coins? How do you know he's not counting it, making sure he's got all of them, and then he wants to collect the rest, or maybe come back for revenge for the inconvenience?
Yeah, interest,
Yeah. Ooh, interest.
100%. So they think we've done this. Let's celebrate. Let's get the fuck out of here at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, get to the hospital at least for
Mm-hmm.
Nathan. Um, but they can't because the leprechaun teleports, I guess, instead of just like coming back into the house, he teleports inside the refrigerator and bursts out that way. I think
Yeah.
Alex is trying to grab ice for Ozzy's ear.
Yeah.
It's getting
He's
pretty
tricky like
gross.
that.
Yeah. So he's just running around causing havoc. He's on a
Oh my
skateboard,
goodness.
just joking around being an asshole.
Yep.
Just saying, I want me gold, I want me gold. And they're like, we thought we fucking gave you all of our fucking gold. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why are you still doing this? But then at that point, like, I don't know. I'd be like, should we have trusted this leprechaun ever to begin with?
No.
Even if he did have all the gold that he was
Mm-mm.
entitled to, I
You
wouldn't.
kill something like that thing if you see it. Like you I just wouldn't be able to know that he exists in the same world as me.
Nathan's able to get a good shot through the head.
Mm,
Which man, what a scary, what a scary little leprechaun. Even just lying there, I'd be like, nope, he's gonna keep moving. You need to
I'm not
keep
going near
shitting.
him.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
we
Chop
need to
his
get the
limbs
fuck
off.
out. Yeah, because he only fucked for like 2 seconds, and then he jumps back up and then starts chirping around, making prank calls, rolling around again on his skateboard, being an asshole.
Yeah, he's got that little baby hand that comes out of the out of the phone.
I love that baby
I
hand that
love
comes out of
it.
the
I love
phone.
the little baby hand.
So good.
And I think
Um,
at one point, doesn't he like run off and say his little song? He says like what? Or he says a rhyme. He says deedly deedly dee, a leprechaun is me.
yeah.
When he's like running off. I love that. He
So
just loves being a leprechaun.
I would be like terrified, but also like shooting, but like also kind of laughing a little bit because I'm
I
like, this is
know.
pretty good. Like, let's take a moment to pause and appreciate how wild these circumstances are.
Yes. I
Because
know. Like, would we survive or would we just be too busy like laughing at his jokes? And then be like, he's like, "Are you laughing at me?" And we're like, "No, we're laughing with you."
I would have tried to turn on you all pretty quickly if I was in that group. And try to make friends with the leprechaun, and then probably that wouldn't work out for me. He'd murder me
No,
at
I
some
don't think
point.
it would. Yeah, of course he would.
Yeah, I'm always that one in the movie. I'm gonna sell y'all out real quick if
Wow.
I can.
Wow.
Yeah. So, Ozzy realizes, fuck, he doesn't have all the coins. I've got one. To which I'm like, okay, we're probably, I don't know. What do you think? 12 hours out? I'm trying to think of his bowel movements.
Oh, you want to hear a fun story about swallowing coins?
Ooh, you have one? Go
I've
for
got
it.
one. So my son did swallow a quarter, so about the same size as that gold coin. And of course, as a parent, absolutely terrifying because your first thought is like, are you going to choke on this? Didn't choke on it, like it went down. Guess how long it took for that coin to pass?
Ooh, how long?
How long do you think?
I'm gonna say a week.
Two.
Oh, geez.
2 weeks. So you can't outrun that leprechaun for 2 weeks.
Okay, good. I
You know what
appreciate
I'm
you being
saying?
there because I feel like I'd be like, just hey, wait, give me a second. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to produce this coin, but
Already.
but get it? So
Got it.
there's, I'm going to poop this out. We're going to rinse this off, and you're going to have it right back to you. But
At that point, I'd be like, Ozzy, we're gonna check the cabinet for some laxatives. Like, we're gonna
oh
clear you
yeah,
out. Like, I'm gonna make you keep eating. You're gonna take these laxatives, and like, if it sends you to the hospital, so be it. Like, we need to get this coin out of you without him ripping through your stomach.
I like how earlier she was like, why why did you take that gold? What are you doing? Alex
Mhm.
is like, but we were gonna fix Ozzy's brain. I told him so he could be smart again, you know,
Uh-huh.
so people would stop bullying him. And they're like, who's bullying him? It's like nobody. Well, I mean me, but behind his back. I'm like, Alex, greed is what got him.
Yep.
So Ozzy's like, I've got the coin, it's in my stomach. But I think if anybody knows how to solve this, it's O'Grady. It's Dan. It's the
Mhm.
dude from the beginning who had a
It is a good
stroke. He's not
idea.
dead, but he's at a hospital. I think this guy would know. He's the one that tells me stuff all the time, or did at least until
Hmm.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, that's a plan. Instead of taking everybody and going to the police station, Tori goes by herself to this hospital.
They're so strange, the decision making here.
She doesn't even do like a quick little detour by the police station, being like, "Hey, I
Yeah.
called. Where are you guys?"
Yeah,
Like
they could all fit in that car and just go
100%.
together. Yeah.
Or at least like, I mean, I guess what helped was the shoe distraction, which I thought was kind of fun, where they're just like
Oh
throwing
yeah,
shoes.
and he looks kind of pissed, but also like, oh, I gotta shine these shoes. But he looks like, oh, you motherfuckers! How many shoes are
Yeah.
in that box?
And they're like lying in dirt. So as soon as I like wipe them off and drop them, they just get dirty again. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that poor man. That's awful. What a hell to live in.
Yeah.
Um, Tori does make her way out, and makes it to the hospital. Goes right past the sleeping security guard and makes it to O'Grady's room. But by that point, it doesn't even matter because O'Grady's not there. It's the fucking leprechaun.
I like that too.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I love anytime he like tricks tricks you with a voice change. I also think it was a really interesting creative choice when Tori is walking down the hallway of the nursing home. They do this like tilted angle on the hallway and the camera work, and I'm thinking, I'm like, is this supposed to be a dream? Like, what's happening here? Why do they do that? It was just an interesting choice. But once she finds him in the room, that's really fun. And then he gets his little wheelchair.
And then this wheelchair chase, which like
Ugh,
looks pretty fun at first, but then it goes on again for too long.
so long. You could have just done 1 to 2 shots of that because Tori's running at normal speed, and then you've got everything, all the shots of the leprechaun in the wheelchair are sped up. So when you keep going back and forth, that looks even more apparent that they're not actually moving at the same like speed film wise. So that feels kind of a little messy.
And it isn't even like it helps give you an idea of like the floor plan or the layout of this hospital because it just seems like they're just
Yeah.
going in circles
Yeah,
and all
for
the
sure.
hallways look the same. They could have just
Hmm.
shown that like back and forth, him going and then her running, just
And then she's in the elevator.
back and forth, and it wouldn't make any difference. She makes her
Yeah.
way to the elevator. Dan O'Grady makes his entrance again,
From the
popping
ceiling.
in through the ceiling of this elevator, and is like, "Oh, I'm dying, but I've got some important stuff to tell you. I'm of sound mind. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
A four-leaf clover can kill it.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. You got to touch him and put that four-leaf clover on him,
Yeah.
and then he dies." So she's like, "Okay, good information.
Super helpful.
I'm not going to stop by the police station again, try to get help.
Nope.
I'm just going to drive back on my own and then just go to
Hmm.
a field by the house, hoping that that one small patch in that one property in North Dakota
Hmm.
is going to be a spot that has a four-leaf clover. I didn't see how rare four-leaf clovers are. Have you ever found one before?
I was going to ask you the same thing if you've ever found one. I have found one.
Dang, it's pretty good. I may have. I don't know though.
And what the most frustrating thing about it when I found it is we had clovers in my yard growing up, and I would spend so much time. I don't want to say hours, but probably looking for 4 leaf clovers, just like picking through them, and I would never find one. And then I think when I was around like 16 or 17, I was sitting smoking weed in a park with my friends, and I was like, what the fuck? I found a four-leaf clover. I was so pissed that I found it so easily because I thought of all the time I spent as a child looking for one. But so that was pretty fun. That was pretty exciting.
Gosh, think of just how boring life was before drugs and Game Boys and cell phones, huh?
Yeah.
Just looking around like assholes for clovers. And they just fall in your lap anyway.
Yep.
So she goes back. She's like, all right, everybody, we gotta look. Um, but even she's getting pretty frustrated by this, being like, we do not have the hours that you said that you spent on looking for clovers.
Yeah,
They do not
exactly.
have that time at
No.
all. They get attacked by the leprechaun as they're trying to look. She does
Mhm.
see the cop car, runs over,
Yeah.
and she's like, thank God the fucking police finally fucking showed up. Turns
Nope.
out that's not the case. It's
Nope.
fucking the dead officer, right?
Hmm.
I forget exactly how, but somehow she makes her way inside the car. Maybe the leprechaun chases her inside. I forget.
Is this not when he's like, I thought he chases her to the police car because there's that whole long shot of her running, and it's like from his perspective, though. Like, so you can still see him, but so it's not quite his point of view. But it's just right on Jennifer Aniston's ass in these shorts. Just this long sequence of her running, which I thought was really funny and another interesting choice. But I think he just runs after her and she kind of loses him. She thinks she does, and then she realizes that that cop is dead as fuck.
Also, keeping track of all of his vehicles, right? We've got the tricycle, we've got the convertible, we've got the interceptor, we've got the wheelchair, and I did forget him in roller skates.
Oh yeah. He likes wheels.
Oh yeah, and he likes to move, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and him going through that fence and like the shape of him is so dumb.
Yeah.
But so she's attacked in the cop car. She's able to use his like baton and like poke his
Hmm.
eye out,
Love
but he's
that.
like, "Don't worry, fucking this officer's an organ donor. I'm gonna pluck his eye out and put it right in here.
I love
Eye
that
for an
little
eye."
trick. Yeah, I think that's pretty fun too. That and that's the thing. Like almost everything that has to do with the leprechaun is so fun. It makes everything else in the movie feel like just so boring and complete shit. So
Yeah,
it's it's just too unbalanced. But I can see why they were like, "Oh, we can make more of these for sure."
yeah. They should have got him to Vegas quicker.
Yeah, yeah, definitely get him to Vegas real quick.
So Nathan's able to save her. She, explains like the clover situation. We all got to look for clovers.
Hmm.
So they go doing that. Alex is like, I've got a better idea. I'm gonna go fucking just hype myself up, being like, you ain't scared. You're not a little bitch. Don't even
Yeah.
worry. You're a strong little boy. Don't even worry. And then he's gonna put a trap together using the bear trap and some rope. I didn't know exactly what
Mhm.
his plan was, but it never really comes to fruition anyway.
Yeah. He Alex is a real idiot in this whole scene because just going rogue, what are you doing, man? What you've got a team.
You've got a funny scene here when they're looking for clovers. Jennifer Aniston's getting so frustrated by this. And
Jesus. I'd be the same way.
and fucking Ozzy is like, you just gotta believe. You've lost your faith. And you're
Yeah.
like, what faith? What, like in leprechauns? Like believing in leprechauns?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he makes it seem like she's like the St. Patrick's Ebenezer Scrooge, that
Yes.
there's some, maladies in her history that she somehow no longer has the spirit of leprechauns. Like, I thought that was so dumb. She's like, you just gotta
Yeah.
believe. But lo and behold, she never actually has to, but finds a four-leaf clover anyway.
Well, she just sarcastically says like, "I believe, sure." Like, and then it's like, "Oh, there's one." Uh,
It works though. Um, Not before the leprechaun attacks Alex.
hmm.
And I like I oh, I knew they would never do it.
I
But
wish they would crush that kid's head like a grape in that bear
uh
trap. Oh, it would have
I
been so
know.
satisfying. Yeah,
His head was real close to that bear trap, and I
so
was like,
close.
come on, do it, do it, do it, do it.
You knew it wasn't going to go that hard.
Ozzy is able to interrupt and say, it's me you want. It's here in my belly. Come for me. Let's do this. And he just starts running away. The leprechaun's like, you know what? You're right. You are the fucking one I want. I'm coming for you.
I do like when he runs after Ozzy. I think one of my favorite jokes in this movie is he kicks Nathan's leg and says, "How's your leg?" as he runs out, and Nathan just falls over. I
Like a
love
little
that.
asshole.
I know. I was like that. That felt very Chucky-esque, I think.
Yeah, I like the leprechaun being a little petty and just
Oh,
being
for
shitty.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the leprechaun starts chasing after Ozzy. Obviously, Ozzy is, kind of more of a portly guy, so he doesn't make it very far.
Yeah.
Um, a leprechaun tackles him and just starts cutting him up.
Oh, yeah. Ugh. It's his shoe buckle or his belt buckle that he's using.
I think so. It's pretty
Yeah.
good. Um, I know they probably just didn't have the budget for it. I don't know. I would have been like, sorry, Ozzy. I would have loved to see him try to cut Ozzy open and reach and try to
Yes.
pull the coin
Ooh,
out of
pull
his
some
stomach.
intestines.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe you can, no, I don't know how he'd live after that, but still, who cares? I
Yeah.
just suspend disbelief. Let him cut that fucker open. Come on, let's
Yeah,
start
there's
digging
not
for
enough
gold.
deaths in this movie.
That's also true. Um, Alex is like, "Hey, I got you. Just hold on. Just hold in there a little bit, Ozzy."
Yeah.
And then instead of like, honestly, the leprechaun was so distracted, you could have ran up right behind him and done the Clover situation.
Mm-hmm.
Alex gets, I just don't understand the physics of this, but just putting like crushing the clover into a little ball and putting it in a slingshot. He has a slingshot earlier.
Yeah,
Sorry, y'all.
yeah.
Chekhov's magical slingshot and uses that to shoot the little balled up clover however many feet away and then right
Mm-hmm.
into the leprechaun's mouth,
Yeah.
which totally fucks up this leprechaun. Yeah.
Yeah, but what a risk. And he says, fuck you, Lucky Charms.
Yeah. He goes, hey, Lep, fuck you, Lucky Charms. Or fuck your
Yeah.
Lucky Charms. Or so, yeah, yeah.
And we
Um,
just we just talked about a nice like one-liner from a child with Andy in Child's
yeah.
Play saying this is the end, friend. This is an example of a one-liner from a child not working.
Andy would have fucked that leprechaun up.
Oh, he would have destroyed that leprechaun for sure.
Andy would have handled that pretty easily.
He would have been like, I've been
Um,
through this shit.
so you fuck up the leprechaun, he falls into the well.
Oh, the
Everyone's,
melting.
yeah, the melting. Oh, it looks really good.
I
Um,
honestly, I think this whole movie is worth watching just for those practical effects at the end. Like the makeup is all really good, but like that
yeah,
that scene of him melting, they almost ruin it with like the light show that happens with it. I'm like, why can't he just melt? Why do we need the magical, colorful lights?
they're all sitting on the porch. Ozzy's clearly cut the fuck up, but he's gonna be okay. Um, he's like, I did a smart thing. I did a smart thing, and they're like, sure you did, buddy. Sure you did. Like
Not
they're
really.
talking to him like he's dying.
I
You
know
know,
he's not.
he's not. He's gonna be fine. And it wasn't, I guess, a smart thing, or like it was, but you waited until the absolute end to say
Hmm.
anything about
And
it.
he
So
still has a gold coin.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's got to pass
So
at some point.
he's gonna get that out eventually. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So when he's like, I did a smart thing, I'd be like, well, you did
This
a
is
lot
all
of
your
not smart
fault.
things all leading up to this. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do some more smart things to
He
make up for that.
caused he caused this whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Nathan's like, well, let's be safe than sorry. Um, pours gasoline into that well and sets that shit on fire. I'm like,
Hmm.
it is your water supply. But I guess
Not anymore.
there's a dead melted leprechaun in there, so you probably won't
Oh,
want to be drinking that water anyway. So I
no,
guess
thank you.
may as well just set the whole fucking thing on fire. Um, and then this is when you get the fucking thing crawling back up, tries to get in, and then falls back in. It's pretty good.
Yeah, would that match actually make the well explode like that
Probably
with
not,
all that
but
gasoline? Yeah, I was like, it is a lot of gasoline, but it's also like a tiny match.
yeah. I don't even know if that match would have stayed lit all the way
That's what I was thinking
down.
too. I'm like, wouldn't it have blown out?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. But dawn starts to rise or whatever the fuck, and the
Hmm.
police arrive. Leprechaun does his little over voiceover saying
Little rhyme.
it was
Close
Ryan
this
being like,
out.
I'm coming back, don't you fucking worry.
Yeah.
I'm the leprechaun. How about that? Ha ha ha. I don't know. That didn't rhyme any of that.
No.
But
No.
whatever. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That's Leprechaun.
Yeah. It when you talk through it, through the plot, it sounds like a lot more happens than really does, but when watching it, I felt like nothing was happening the like most of the movie.
I skipped over a lot of the nothing happening because there is a lot
Yeah,
of nothing
a
happening. Yeah.
lot of nothing. Yeah, so that I think the pacing of this movie is interesting. And honestly, conceptually, I think it's a really fun idea. Like, I love the idea of a killer leprechaun and him coming after his coins. I think you could do so many fun things with it. And they do in the future, but yeah, it drags a lot.
Before I go any further, is there anything else you want to say about Leprechaun?
Yes.
Sure.
So I looked I looked up the budget of this movie, which was $900,000, but it made $8.5 million. Dollars. Is that enough for it to be a success? Because they did continue to make more of them.
I mean, if you keep that production cost cheap, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so. I just thought that that was interesting because I always wondered how well this movie actually did because I think a lot of the sequels are direct to video.
I think the second one
That was theatrical.
is theatrical, the others are not.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That was all. I just wanted to add that in there because I was curious, so I thought maybe some listeners might be too.
With a villain as clever and chatty as this leprechaun, there's got to be some good taglines, right?
You would think so.
Oh no.
I was so disappointed. There's three taglines, and they're essentially all the same thing. You ready?
Okay.
Her luck just ran out. That's
Oh,
one.
just Tori.
Tori, I'm assuming we're referring to.
Okay.
The luck of the Irish just ran out.
Hmm. Are any of them Irish? Or I guess can you have the luck of the Irish not being Irish?
Yeah, I think that's like a thing. Like someone says like, "Oh, like you have the luck of the Irish even if you're not Irish."
Okay. All right.
I bet they say that a lot in Vegas.
Maybe.
Tying it back to that. And then the last one, your luck just ran out, which is my favorite one.
It's more to the point. It's the most concise one.
Yeah, but I feel like we could have done some fun things. So that's your three taglines for Leprechaun.
Okay. Love
Hmm.
it. Boo scores. Who would like to go first?
You went first last time, so I'm okay with going first this time.
Cool.
Um, I wouldn't say that I like this movie. because I do get bored every time I watch it. But again, Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun, God, he really just hams it up and he makes me laugh. And I love the makeup on him and I love the way he trots around. He does this like sideways kind of like skipping walk that is really endearing and also creepy at the same time. I love that he rhymes all the time. I love the campiness of the little vehicles and all of that. So that in itself gives this movie a whole boo for me. I'm gonna give it 1.5 boos because I have seen it quite a few times and I like the groundwork that they laid out for a franchise.
Yeah. Um, hmm,
And that feels generous.
funny because I was thinking of going a tad higher.
Ooh, okay. Tell me why.
I don't necessarily get super bored watching this. Like, yeah, there's some like long, like unnecessary scenes, sure.
Hmm.
Um, Really what fuels this, kind of like you said, is Warwick Davis's performance and this
Hmm.
character and wanting to see more of this character. Like that
Yeah.
is it's very a weak movie that not a lot goes on by many measures, but this character is just so fun. And you're like, okay, I want to see what else this guy can do. Let's get
Yeah.
him out of this farmhouse.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that I am when I revisit the rest of these movies, they could rank higher. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, I am gonna be really generous tonight. And give it two boos.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's a fun movie. I liked it a
Yeah.
lot. As much
Yeah.
as I can love a two boo movie.
Well, and I think too, what I've been realizing when I rewatch some of these films that I haven't seen in a long time, if I'm watching a movie like Leprechaun, not for an episode for this podcast, during those lulls, I'm definitely doing something else. I'm either on my phone, playing my little iPad games, folding laundry, doing something else. So they're less, you don't notice that downtime as much when you're distracting yourself. But when I watch a movie for the podcast, I'm taking notes and I'm actively watching it. So if I am on my phone, I'll pause. So then I notice when I get bored with movies more often. So there's definitely a difference between actively watching a movie fully and rewatching it and keeping yourself distracted. So I think this movie can be a good time if you're not fully immersing yourself in it. So would I recommend it to people? Maybe certain people, but
Maybe certain people.
I wouldn't
No.
recommend this to people who aren't like 100% horror fans. Like they will consume any horror content. Like I wouldn't recommend it to anyone outside of that group.
If someone said they liked Chucky, I'd say go fuck with Leprechaun.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you
You
said you
know,
like Chucky, I'd be like, it's a fun, comparable character, but he still has his own agenda and his own differences where I don't feel like they're like ripping off Child's Play.
I agree.
Yeah,
'Cause by this point, maybe a couple Child's Play movies have come out.
at least two.
93, yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I know what you mean. There definitely some lulls in this, where I'm just kind of like, do I need to like fast forward through this during my watch?
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't need to take notes for this. But yeah, it's like I feel like this movie could absolutely, it's an hour and a half. You really could have taken quite a bit out of this, and
Hmm.
maybe trimming it down to an hour would be a lot, but hour 15, easy
Oh,
to
yeah.
clean all this up. Yeah, 100%.
I think an hour and 15 actually would make the pacing a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So short movie for a short villain, you know? He's like, look,
Hmm.
I don't need all this time just fucking lurking around, taking 8 years to walk through the fucking woods, or down the alley or through my fucking boiler room. I don't know. But I don't got that time.
No.
I got a pitter patter, start killing people.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's all I got on Leprechaun. How about you?
That's it. That's all I got.
All right, cool. Well, hey, Take care. I don't know if I have any reassuring, life-saving advice to offer, but I mean, just I'd say just scroll back and review the hot tips that Natalie shared about surviving leprechauns.
Yeah, but like don't take their gold. And then you don't even need those tips. Just don't touch the gold. If someone says they found a bag or a pot of gold lying around, maybe share those hot tips with them and then get away
Yeah,
from them. Yeah.
100%. All right, everybody. Three, two, one, ghost.
Thanks for listening to our episode on Leprechaun. If you enjoyed this episode, you can subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-boo review on whichever platform you choose to listen. You can find us on Instagram at 321ghostpod and give us a follow. We would love to hear your thoughts on the film. You can shoot an email to 321ghostpod@gmail.com to share any thoughts, questions, or recommend a movie you'd like to hear us chat about. Next week, we're continuing our unofficial small villain series with 2009's Orphan. Thanks again for listening, and remember, you can avoid murderous leprechauns by just not robbing them of their gold coins. And if you choose to risk it, I hope you took notes earlier on how to defend yourself. 3, 2, 1, ghost.